world economy in Sofia, Bulgaria. And seeing her profile, I see that she is really active member of many professional organizations in intellectual property, higher education system, and research in the field of intellectual property, as well law and marketing. So today we will listen to her presentation, Intellectual Property Rights in Digitally Based Education. And yeah, Maria, the floor is yours, and welcome to this session.
Thank you, Vidya. I would like at the first place to thank the organizer for this great meeting. This is the scientific place to share opinions in all areas of science, education, and culture. Thank you once again. Let me present my paper, Focus on Intellectual Property Rights in Digitally Based Education.
Maria, very brief question. Sorry for interruption. I wish to ask you if we will be able to see you or...
Excuse me, but there is a small technical problem with my camera. That's why I present only using the microphone.
Okay, thank you very much. It's okay. It's really okay. So we are listening to you.
Thank you, Vidya. Just a second. If you may see the second slide of my presentation, I would like to share with this great audience the purpose of this paper. The purpose of this paper is to consider the academic lecture given by all of us in the specific national or international conditions as an object of intellectual property rights in the context of the digitally based higher education based on internet, based on different platforms. We focus on the lecture as an object of copyright protection and the problems faced to intellectual property rights in digitally based forms of teaching and training students. Based on the international regulation, national included, of course, the main normative acts regulating the protection of works of science, literature, arts is the copyright and related rights. In Bulgaria, there is a specific copyright regulation from 1993. This is not the first, of course. And international main regulation is Berne Convention for a Protection of Works of Literature, Arts and Science, you may see from 1886. The academic lecture as a focus of my presentation as IP right, especially as the object of copyright protection. The academic lecture is an indisputable creative product of the lecturer in which he or her presents his ideological, scientific, methodological points of view, his practical or her practical experience and generalization conclusions on a certain specific or scientifically applied problem, regardless of the form of presentation. As a research product, materialized or not, materialized on a paper or on a digital holder or not, in a specific holder, in the form of article, monograph, study, or other type of research results, as a handicraft results presented by Jorge in the previous presentation, as such as creative product, the academic lecture is considered as an object of copyright, in particular as an object of literature or science or art. The main concerns by us as lecturer, as a researcher in specific fields in science, art, and literature. In the context of the digitally based education, digitally teaching, training students, along with the specific international copyright protection for our lecture, there is a number of other issues arises in the field of IP right protection, such as following. There are many questions. Which is the student audience? Second question, by the students only for the purposes of education of the lecture is distributed in the digital space without the consent of the author of this lecture. Next question is there a kind of extension of the term called free use, in this case, academic use by students for preparation to the tests, acquisition of knowledge and skills during the academic course? And the last but not least question, is the lecture subsequently reproduced through various distribution channels without the explicit consent of the author of this lecture? I would like to present my personal opinion to the raised by me questions. First is the term audience in the regulation copyright. The copyright law in general doesn't give a precise definition of the term audience. There is a term unlimited number of persons. Usually, in practice, the audience is at least 3 people in an audience to give an academic lecture and to arise copyright protection. The copyright law puts under protection the economic and moral interests of the creator. In the case of an academic lecture, along with the author's right to this lecture, those rights of the employer, assigner of the created intellectual property, are also realized. Internet accessible space and sources, different platforms, Zoom, BBB, Teams, or other, or using the official websites of specialized institutions and organizations, etc. For example, during the lecture on the subject intellectual property, this is the course for students in our university, students study and test in practice in the audience in the academic hall. They work with many specific sites such as www, World Intellectual Property Organization official site, the site of European Union Intellectual Property Office based in Spain, the site of European Patent Organization based in Germany, and others. The use of lectures by the students to develop the questions on which to prepare for the exam, for the test, the written presentation of the students and the exam, where the author's product, lecture's product of the lectures has become knowledge about the students and this academic task has been realized, acquisition of the theoretical knowledge and practical skills. The use of lectures to develop a course, project, or master thesis by students. Students should issue correctly the academic lecture as a lecturer's intellectual product, following the main principles. First of them, quoting the name of the author, lecturer or lecturers. On the title of the course discipline, academic discipline, year and place where they heard this lecture. Second, in practice, however, the author's right is considered to be violated, infringed. In cases where the students present another's or his own opinion on the same or a related issue, this becomes clear in the course of oral or written expression. Some words about the legal point, free legal use of the lectures based on the international and national regulations. What is the term free legal use? Use of quoting from the already published work, use of parts of already published works for the purposes of analysis, commentary, or otherwise for scientific or research or educational purposes. Public presentation or performance of the already published works in schools or other educational institutions, reproduction of the already published works from libraries, schools, museums, and kind of institutions in area of culture, as well as reproduction in braille script. The lecture is used not only for a test preparation of the students in this course, in this specific academic course. Usually, by different technical means, the different formats are converted into a specific text form for students and to the purpose for their preparation, their individual task assignments, coursework, course thesis, and others using lecture presented by PowerPoint presentation or different way on the mode copy-paste. The main legal principles of academic lecture use. The main basic principle of the Berne Convention is nationally, automatically, and independence of protection. Those principles allow us to comment on the legal protection of the academic lecture if it is presented or not on the territory of the country member of the Berne Convention, but outside. The issue is relevant in connection with the academic exchange and the travel presentation of lectures abroad in many programs, Erasmus, Socrates, etc., as well as in bilateral agreements between various academic institutions. A copyright work may be used only with the consent of the copyright holder, the author of copyright, except in the cases provided by law. Any unauthorized or specific use of the copyright works by special text of the law on the copyright related rights is considered an offense of specific field to defense his or her copyright. Any accurate reproduction of a work of the artistic property is treated as intellectual piracy or intellectual property infringement, with all its consequences. The law on copyright and related rights provides for the following ways of protection of the rights over the object of artistic property: civil law, administrative law, and criminal law, in the case of proved intellectual property infringement. Thank you for your attention, dear colleagues, and I am at your disposition for questions if you have. Creative Commons and fair use. Yes, I see in chat. the practically recognized authorship, but
thank you, Maria, for your presentation. And yes, you are right. The participants put in chat the question. So I could read it loudly, maybe for the ones who are using mobile phones, and maybe it's difficult to read the question in the small equipment. So, dear Maria, what do you think about Creative Commons license and fair use and other practices that can recognize authorship but to not generate directly profits for the author? Yeah, if the question is not clear enough, maybe we could ask the
Yes, there are very interesting, very important question in the area of intellectual property right protection, included the specific object academic lecture. Thank you. I couldn't see the name of the participant. Thank you for this specific and very considered question. I would like to underline that the option of Creative Commons are important for all of us. This is kind of free use, free legal use of the already published or already presented to the audience works. I would like to add only that in every case of the legal use under Creative Commons or under fair use, I have presented this in my presentation, their main principles students and all of us people should follow. The already published or already presented work should be quoted as the author, if you have information of this, the place of published or presented work, such as this for event. On the third place, to put the year of the first published work or first presentation of this work of literature, art, or science. And if there is information, to put correctly pages of the work we have quoted. That is my answer in general, not in specific details.
Thank you, Maria. And I really believe that your answer helps as well and helps a lot, because intellectual property rights is always challenging question, challenging issue, and raises a lot of discussions. And it's really important field. So other participants are saying thank you for such important presentation. And again, seeing that our time, okay, yeah, and Elisabetta Della wants also to thank you for the presentation, for the interesting presentation. And she has a question. Her question is related to the use of videos. For example, an extract of a movie available on YouTube for teaching purposes. Can we re-upload the video on a newly created YouTube channel so that they can be accessed by the students? So the part of the video or the video found in YouTube. So Maria.
Thank you, Elisabetta, for your specific question. There is in the area of copyright protection. Thank you once again. My answer here is the following. The so-called films, audiovisual, video products can be implemented in lectures, in presentations, and those specific products of copyright protection as films, videos, kind of advertising, and everything on the title movies is an object of copyright protection. All of the principles related to academic lecture, to the work of science and literature and arts are regarded to the movies, to the videos, to all of the products called films as general term of copyright protection objects. I would like to add something that there is a specific requirement to put the name of the producer of this video, to put the name of the first fixing this video on the material holder, digital or other, and to put names of so-called performing artists if there are in such kind of products. Thank you.
Thank you. Because this question and also the answer is relevant because most of us are in academic field and we use different material, the one we find online. So it's important to know. Thank you very much. Okay, as we don't have more questions, I would like to invite our next presenter.